Hello, Project Ultimate Lifers. We have Abood here today to enlighten us with the conversation on mindset, behavior change, and habit formation. So it's going to be a good one. Listen up and let's get started. Hello, Abood.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What's your background? Enlighten us.
I'm Abood. My background is in sports science and sports presentation and acting. I host sporting events. I coach personal trainers and athletes. And also I act on a TV show.
What TV show?
About cinema on Al Jazeera.
Okay. Are you from Doha? Have you always lived here? I know Doha's a really unique place with people from all over the world.
Yeah, born and raised in Qatar, yeah.
Okay, awesome. What got you excited to become an actor?
It was not really something that I was looking to take on professionally. I'm a sports presenter. I was spotted and called for casting for a TV show, and they took me for it.
Tell us a little bit about this TV show.
It's a TV show that's in its 4th season now. We're going back to continue shooting in a week's time. Award-winning TV show with Al Jazeera. It's called About Cinema. It's rated pretty highly on IMDb. Check it out. Go About Cinema on Google and you'll find it.
Cool. Is it in Arabic or in English or both?
It's in Arabic, but there's English subtitles.
Okay, I'll definitely have to watch more than just the clips you share with me. Okay, so you and I go pretty far back to 1 year where we met at I guess it's over a year now, the World Cup experience. You were emceeing for the Visa Masters of Movement, and I was also working within it. At that time, I thought you were a pretty cool guy, and over time I've gotten to know you, and we've gotten to be able to talk about some really interesting concepts and perspectives about you that I actually really appreciate, okay? So you are unique in that you don't hold a 9-to-5 job, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that, like what you do and how you actually spend your time on a day-to-day basis? I think a lot of people would be inspired to hear this.
Yeah. So you kind of find out what you're truly good at and what your skill is, and try to be the best at that. And you become a player in what we call a superstar economy. When you are this person that is the best at what you do, and you are the only person who provides that quality as best as that service is best that you do at that quality that you provide it, no matter how many people are hired to do what you do, and so many little salaries are paid to so many people, they're not going to do what you do as one person. So if you invite 5 singers at a wedding and they're all mediocre, if they all combine their singing together, it's not going to be one great performance. But if you hire 1 star, they're going to change that whole experience and make that party or wedding or whatever it is rise to the occasion. So I was able to perform at so many different places and be seen by so many different people. And I was able to, and because I enjoy what I do, I love what I do. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I like to think that I'm very good and one of the best in the region at what I do. And I am able to do that and not have a 9-to-5. And I always say, be so good that they can't ignore you. If you're that good that they can't ignore you and everybody wants you, then you'll be able to ask for what you truly believe you deserve, and then you'll have the freedom to do with your time the other things that you love and be able to monetize off of that as well.
So what are some of the really cool events that you've done locally? You say you're one of the best in the region, and what does this look like? What have you done?
The Formula One, the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Legends Cup, the Adidas FIFA Fans World Cup, the Visa Masters of Movement, where you were a lot of the local sporting events, the regional esports championships, working a lot with Red Bull, working a lot with Vodafone, Ooredoo, and just a lot of the regional sporting events, but also some events with the major telecommunications companies, energy, oil and gas companies, and so on.
I think that what you do is really interesting because there's a lot to it, right? Mm-hmm. I've had some experience here now where I've done like some commercials and done some modeling and whatever else, and it's in film, and it's an entirely different scope that as a teacher or a used to be teacher, now entrepreneur, never would have been exposed to. So I feel like I now have a general idea of what that looks like, and I think it's really cool. So if somebody were wanting to get into, say, doing voiceovers or acting or kind of going down that line of work, what would they need to do to sort of get started with that?
First of all, they need to work on their talent. They need to practice. They need to learn from somebody or from something. It could be an application, it could be YouTube videos. And then they need to put their work out there, either on their own social media platforms or they put it out to the agencies. There's agencies here in Doha. And they need to start by wanting to be put in front of the casting cameras or in front of the microphones to record as much as possible. And then once they're known, then they can start to be a little bit more negotiative with their rates. But they have to work on the craft, always work on their craft, always work on their craft, not to wait for a project to come to them, but to constantly be writing things and recording them, or recording scripts, voice acting, doing whatever they specifically want to do. If they want to do telephone للاستمرار باللغة العربية اضغط واحد, like this kind of thing, then they should practice that. Record a couple of those samples and have them ready in a specific place. So when somebody reaches out, they're ready to send out those samples. This is my voice, this is what I can do, and I'm available to record. So they need to start off by having that. And for people who want to get into acting, you have to have, of course, your 2 headshots. You have to have your reels. Of course, when you're starting out, you won't have reels. But do something, record something, a monologue, learn how to do self-taping, get the frames correct, get that right, clean background, and just constantly work on your craft. Whether it's voiceovers, whether it's acting, they're all like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And if you don't have it, you work on it and you grow it and you develop it and maintain it.
So where did you develop this mindset? I think a lot of people listening to this would be like, oh, that's so cool. I'd love to act or I'd love to do that, but I just don't think that I can. What would you say to them?
I would say to them that when we are born, we're not walking. Everything that we know in life is learned. Every skill is developed from something. And we do a little bit every single day, a little bit every single day. And then we develop these skills and these habits. This is a mindset that I got from doing the martial arts that I do. It's the mindset that I got from taking on things that I have never done before. And one of the things that I truly love and I'm very passionate about is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They tell you life is like a chess game, but unlike a chessboard, you and your opponent don't start off with the same pieces. In a chess game, you start off with bishop, king, queen, soldiers, and as you go along, the person who's better will win the game. In life, it's not like that. Some people have a full set. Some people are born and they don't have that much, and they have to work with what they have. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it shows you that you're not special. No one is special when they start. And it takes time, dedication, and going over and over and over and over until you figure a certain thing out. The first thing you learn from mixed martial arts or doing martial arts or doing jiu-jitsu is patience and being able to work under pressure and to think under pressure and to make decisions under pressure. You show up, you're on the mats, you're in a situation where someone is applying literal pressure with their knee on your chest and you can barely breathe. You're going to panic and you're going to make wrong decisions, and then you're going to submit, tap, give away a position, give away a point, and then you're going to start all over again. And again, you're going to be in that position where someone's putting their knee on your chest or someone's literally choking you out. And you panic, you make the wrong decision, they submit you, you start all over again. Until you realize that you've been in this position many times before, and let me sit down and think, what can I do in this position? And the direction that I have to turn and the escape that I have to apply in order to get out of this position. You're only going to be able to think of that when you're comfortable under that pressure. And being comfortable under that pressure, you're able to apply it in real life.
And how do you apply these principles in real life?
You sit down and think, what's the outcome? What do I really want? Do I really want this? Do I want something else? Is this the thing that I want right now in this moment? Is it going to hinder what I want in the long term?
I would say that a lot of people who would be sort of taking a new approach to life, thinking about it as a project to try to live their ultimate life, is going to be either on the start of a journey or at the beginning, or wanting to course correct somewhere and kind of redirect their life sort of in the middle. What would you say to somebody who was more at the beginning, needing to think about things like mindset, discipline, habits, etc., to be able to get to, say, where you have or where they want to go?
So before answering this question, this is something that I want to say to you and to anybody and everybody who's watching. We all have experiences that we can learn from each other. I myself, if you ask me, I would say that I haven't done something that is so big or so great that I have people who love me so much that they want to follow what I did and take my footsteps. So, yet, well, all I can say is the experiences that I've done and the mistakes that I've done and the lessons that I've learned. And I hope that that can be helpful to you guys and even to myself when I recall them. What I want to say is, once we know that we want to be somewhere, once we know that we are participating in behavior that isn't taking us there, once we know that we are in a situation that isn't great, we decide that we want to change, and that's the first step towards behavioral change. We've had this conversation many times before. It's important to be aware and to contemplate that there needs to be change. And once we're there, the second stage is, which is, of course, you surely know and you're very aware of the model of behavioral change, is when you start contemplating and then preparing and then getting yourself ready and then doing the action and maintaining it. We'll start, we'll go on a journey, and we'll realize maybe that's not what we want, and then we just start over again. We need to be good at starting from scratch, because we will start from scratch a lot.
One of the things that you said recently was half the battle was just knowing it's time to start, or knowing that a change is ready and needed to be made. How difficult is it to change a behavior, would you say?
I would say sometimes the behavior causes you so much suffering that that suffering causes you to change that behavior. And sometimes,
I know about that.
yeah. And sometimes the reward for changing the behavior is so great, and you see that reward, and you're like, okay, this instant gratification that I have, I don't want it anymore. I want that big reward. And when you have the clarity of how great that reward is, then you change the behavior. An example for when the suffering is so great that it changes your behavior is possibly having a very bad diet and a very bad lifestyle. And you're fine, you're okay, you're doing it every day, you know that you're not supposed to be doing it, but you continue on doing it. And then you reach a point where one day you're hospitalized. An ambulance comes, takes you to the hospital, and the doctor tells you, you got, God forbid, a stroke, or God forbid, you've got diabetes now. And you can't do this anymore, otherwise you're gonna die. So now the suffering has reached a point where you have to change your behavior. Another example for the bad behavior is, say someone's in a relationship and they are having extramarital relationships and texting somebody else. They're doing it every day. They know they're not supposed to be doing it every day, but they do it. And then they get caught by their spouse. When they get caught by their spouse, they're suffering. They hurt somebody they love. They hurt somebody who they vowed loyalty to. Now they have to stop that behavior of that texting, because the suffering was so great. So sometimes the suffering reaches a point that is so high that you change that behavior. Sometimes the reward is so great that you change the behavior. And sometimes you're doing a bad behavior that isn't giving you so much suffering in that moment. And so that is when changing the behavior is hard. When you can't really see or feel how bad things are going, but it's eating at you. Nibble by nibble, inch by inch, it's eating away at you. And like I said, what makes it hard is the instant gratification. Like, I'm doing this thing because I'm getting this buzz, I'm getting this instant high, I'm getting this instant joy, I'm getting this instant pleasure, but it's taking me away from that long-term goal that I want.
What do you know about the pain and pleasure balance? Can you enlighten us to that a little bit? The idea that humans are more motivated to stay away from pain than they are to seek pleasure and reward.
I would say that it's something related to evolutionary psychology. When something causes us pain, we are by nature more likely to avoid it than when something is good for us or when something is normal. Because if you think about it, you don't want to go towards the thing that's going to hurt you. If you know that eating this thing gives me a stomach ache, you're like, I'm not going to eat that again. If you know that going down this route, there's going to be a dangerous animal, you know, okay, I'm not going to go down that route again. You're trying to preserve your life as much as possible. We are more impacted by negatives than we are impacted by positives. So sometimes you have to experience a little bit of that negative in order for us to take that strong decision that I'm going to change my behavior.
How do our thoughts influence our beliefs, which influence our actions?
I mean, I want to ask you that question. I think it all starts with a thought, and the thought turns into an action. The action turns into a habit. The habit becomes character.
Character becomes your destiny.
Yeah.
Very familiar with
How does that
quote.
feel? How do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Well, going back to your example, I was listening to something the other day that was talking about how the majority of our thoughts are actually negative because they are programmed and wired to make sure that we stay alive. Yeah. So it could look at, this is just an example, but fire, right? And the first thing that the brain might think, this isn't necessarily the best example, but, fire, run, or let's not use the fire. What's a better example? Something that would cause fear. Oh, okay, how about this? Moving, right? Like, I'm going to be moving from Doha, going nomadic. I don't know where I'm going. I think I have the personality in evolutionary psychology that I would have been the one out there trying the berries, and I probably would have died. Yeah. But y'all would have learned from me, and I would advance humanity because I'm going to go blindly. But even though I'm confident now in my skills and my abilities to be able to do it, there's still that fear, in the back of the mind, which fear is what? False evidence appearing real. That makes me think, maybe I stay in Doha. I love it here. I've got great friends, this kind of thing. But then this other voice is like, no, pursue the mission, pursue the goal, go blindly with just your headlights on and kind of see where it takes you. Yeah. That's where I would think that, you kind of flipped it onto me, the whole thoughts versus then it develops a belief. So belief is just a thought that we think over and over again. So how would one go about rewiring their thoughts to be able to serve them?
Again, not being the behavioral change specialist, I can only tell you what I can put together in my mind from experiences.
Yeah, of course.
Is just intentionality. Is first of all, being aware of the thoughts that you have that are negative, being aware of the thoughts that you have that are turning you into that certain habit and character, and then having different thoughts, having different beliefs. There's a triggering event that happens, and then there is a craving that we have, then there is an action, and then there is a reward. This is how we form habits. If we think about that every single time this stimulus happens, and realize that this reward that we're getting at the end is not a small brick in the house that we want to build at the end of the day, then we try to intentionally stay away from the thought that's like, ooh, there's that reward that I'm going to get. When I'm hungry, my response to my hunger is not ordering a McDonald's. My response to my hunger is I will have a protein shake, or I will have something healthy if that's something that I want. And then keeping my mind, keeping my thoughts on that physique or that athletic performance that I want to reach. When I hear my alarm in the beginning of the day, I have a craving to turn that off and go back to bed. And I get that instant reward is that relaxation and that comfort. But if I have the intentionality that my character is different, my character wants to be something else, I go against that craving, and then I do the action that takes me towards that long-term reward that I want. And then our body learns that this is what we do. Our body becomes disciplined. Our body becomes this character. our body becomes the tool that we want to take us to where we want to go.
If there were some sort of let's think of like optimization, some specific habits related to this. What would be, say, 3 to 5 habits that if somebody wanted to really go big with their life or make a massive change or shift in any direction, the positive direction, what would you recommend? And how would they go about developing it?
Make it a habit to add something in your day that is very hard and difficult for you to do.
Okay.
Some sort of workout, some sort of ice bath, something.
I did that today.
Good job.
Thanks.
Something that's difficult to overcome, and make it a habit that you're going to do that. Doing that thing that is hard as a habit, and having a organized timetable, and being constantly able to be flexible when you need to, but being organized with your time, doing that thing that's hard, that requires discipline. Take care of your sleep. Take care of your sleep. It's a little weird for me to think of the right habit, because there's so many of them that are great. Reading a book every day, talking to a wiser person for 15 minutes, taking a moment, staying away from your phone an hour before you sleep, make that a habit. Being mindful of the presence that you're in. These are really good habits. Being mindful that you are in the now, that you're here, that I'm here with Jess, we're having this conversation, we're enjoying ourselves, we're exploring each other's experiences, trying to get as much insight as possible, rather than think that by the end of this month, I'm going to be doing that. Enjoy today, enjoy tomorrow, enjoy after tomorrow, and when you're there, enjoy that too. So make it a habit to be mindful is great, so that you're actually enjoying your time here. It's going to run out. So
for sure.
So that's...
People talk about mindfulness. What is mindfulness?
I mean, I'm probably wrong with my answer, but if just being fully aware of everything, involve all your senses. Like, I like to enjoy the moments. When I was younger, I used to do this thing, and it's sad that I don't do it as much as I used to. Is I would blank frames of my surroundings to save them in my mind that I am doing this now. And so when it's over, I go back to them and I was like, oh, I was doing that. That was nice. So my experiencing self is experiencing, and then my remembering self is going back to those snapshots, and it's like, yeah, that's so cool.
I've actually done that too, starting in 2011. Like, I remember these very specific times that I go to, sort of like spiritual, like temples, or being along a body of water, or a hike in the woods, and I'll just be like, it's April 11th, 2011, and I am here. And I can remember exactly where it is. Mm-hmm. It's powerful.
That's beautiful.
Bringing that like full consciousness, even to the date. I can remember July 26, 2018, exactly where I was in Malaysia, the Buddhist temple, So I think that's a really cool strategy also. Yeah, presence is important. And I know I'm somebody who's very guilty of like living in the future, often like, what's my next plan, But life has become a lot better when it's been brought in and reeled in and kind of lived more in the moment, for sure. Earlier you mentioned something about how, in the game of life, we're given a different, I think you said chess pieces, you're given the same, but essentially in the game of life, we're handed a different deck of cards, right? What would be some of the decks? I know we've talked about like your passport situation. I think you just picked it up today. Congratulations. Yeah. Right? What was that? Explain that a little bit. And then how can someone who feels like maybe they weren't given the best deck of cards kind of learn from your experience and maybe shift their perspective to be able to maybe go forward in the direction of their dreams and live the life they imagine despite what they feel like they've been handed in life?
Yeah. We're born, and there are a lot of things that we don't choose, like our parents, like where we are born, our nationalities, and that's huge. You can see there's a lot of people that try to cross borders. They try to look for better lives in different places and things like that. I am very blessed that I was born and raised in such a beautiful country. I still feel very blessed given my passport situation that made it very difficult for me to travel around places.
Can you explain that just a little bit for those who don't know?
Simple difficulty renewing a passport when you have to do a national service in a country that you don't live. That was a struggle that I was having for many, many years. Of course, I needed to travel a lot for work, for filming, for shooting. But I made peace with the fact that I will be able to do it one day. And I really, really enjoyed my time here. It was very pleasurable for me. So that was one of the cards that I was handed, or the chess pieces that I had, was this passport situation that made things a little bit more difficult for me the older that I got. So what I want to say is count your blessings, man. If you have the freedom to travel around the world, or if you have the freedom to all you need is to just buy your ticket, if that's the only obstacle you have to see the world, then think about it and realize that not everybody just needs to buy a ticket to travel around the world. We need a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm. It's something like 1 in every 3 Americans have passports, and being an American with a passport, I'm on almost filling up my 2nd book at this point. I definitely recognize the privilege and the freedom that comes with it, because I've had friends from all over the place, Egypt and India, and they have to get passports, and like this, for us to travel to the same place, the process is so much more extent. And I just thought, wow, like how lucky am I, right? But people, I think one of the best forms of education is to actually travel, and not everyone, especially Americans, don't necessarily take advantage of that. Yeah. The first time I traveled to the UK, there was a guy in a pub, and he said, well, why would you ever leave your country? At any given time of the year, you've got the mountains, you've got the lakes, rivers, oceans, sunlight, sun, anything you would basically want. And I thought, oh yeah, but there's just so much more out there. So I want to see and explore. So that's something. Well, congratulations on your passport to freedom. Do you have any big plans of where you're going to go to next? Besides Turkey to film your 4th season of your show?
I have no plans. But my plan is to get out a little bit more. Yeah, I plan to get out to get those experiences that you're talking about. Go and see people and try different things and see how beautiful the world is, and not just look at my Apple TV screensavers, which are really beautiful.
They are.
Yeah, they actually inspire me to go to all the places. They
tell you every place that it is.
Yeah.
They didn't used to tell you where it was.
Yeah.
It was just the pictures.
Yeah, they're really beautiful. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So there are things out there that you probably couldn't even comprehend or didn't even know existed. And there are people that you never would have thought that you'd be able to meet. So go out there and meet them. Yeah,
it's a big world. Is there anything you would like to kind of conclude on? I think we've had a really great conversation so far.
Yeah, I actually want to ask questions that I don't have answers to myself. And maybe it will inspire you to ask yourself the same questions. And maybe you have answers to them, and maybe you want to share them. But the questions are, what do I want? And who am I? That's it.
All right. Well, that feels like a really good kind of spot to end off.
Yeah, it's a identity crisis, but hey.
What do I want and who am I? I think that's a great way to end. All right. Well, thank you very much, my friend. It was lovely having you.
Thanks for having me.
And if anyone wanted to find you?
Abood_Afro on Instagram, ABOOD_AFRO, or Google Abood Cinema, and you'll find it.
Amazing. Great job.